It's Sports by the Book at the South Point Studio. Here's Jeff Parles.
Welcome back in. Oh, I should say welcome in for the first time today here on Sports by the Book. Fourth time today. If you've been on the channel, of course, Race Day Las Vegas, gone racing, back where it belongs here at the South Point, and of course, Punchlines before the fourth show of the day here at the studio, Sports by the Book. I'm Jeff Parles. We got a loaded show for you today. We'll see Frank Nicotero a little later in the program. Kai McKeon of Three Man Weave, talking some college hoops. But starting off the show, American treasure himself.
That's me.
Jimmy Vaccaro.
How you been, kid?
I'm good. You know, it's an interesting time of year. This little lull here after the Super Bowl. We're less than 10 days away from some of the conference tournaments beginning in college hoops.
Oh, so I can't wait.
It'll be super, super excited to get those tournaments going. Of course, all the tournaments here in town, WCC, the WAC, the Mountain West, and of course, the final time for the Pac-12 this go-around.
Well, one more thing you can add to that, because you go back a short 20 years ago, you wouldn't even heard of what? You can't play basketball colleges in Las Vegas. Right. They can't wait to get in here now and get the conferences here. Yeah. So same old thing. We tried to tell them 20 years ago, and they finally listened after 10 years. But those games, obviously with UCLA and stuff like that, it's an absolute automatic. But it was the same teams 20 years ago. But I'm glad we finally got there, because I'll tell you what, these conference championship games and tournaments that they have draw a lot of people. I mean, not like a couple people. I mean, a lot of people. So they're showing us, where the hell have you guys been?
Well, the Mountain West tournament's going to be awesome this year. Right now, 6 projected teams going to the dance, according to a lot of the bracketologists out there. The last go-around for the Pac-12. So Arizona fans and UCLA fans will be out in droves over at T-Mobile Arena in, again, less than 3 weeks until less than 4 weeks now until Selection Sunday. Pretty crazy that we're getting in on it.
Yeah, it sure is. And obviously it shows you the strength of what it is, because even though you can't do much with it, it's a big deal. You know, they'll sit here all day and and number 7, whatever. But you know what? It's just like any other business. We have progressed. We have gotten bigger and bigger and bigger. And some reasons we got bigger and bigger and bigger because we started to do more and more. And the public tells you to some degree, you're wasting your time, or listen, kid, put this up. There'll be a lot of people come and show up. So we've listened to a great degree also.
Well, and that's also, we've just to keep it on college hoops before we move into some other things too. That's a week where there are a lot of bettors that enjoy that conference tournament week more than the big dance the following week, because as you mentioned, there will be people that will show up at 8 a.m. on Tuesday, and some of them won't want to leave until the brackets revealed on Sunday afternoon.
This is where it starts also for like the Cinderella teams.
Yes.
If you beat the conference and you wind up beating, let's say whoever you are and you beat Connecticut, you're going to be in the big dance, because 100%. That's what happens. And my thing's always been, there's always maybe 2 or 3 teams that people glom onto and call them the Cinderella team. And you know what? Even though they're big dogs, they bet on these things too, which is good. And like I said, when you have a Cinderella team, it's only good. It just stretches another day of something interesting coming up.
Jimmy, you said you were looking at Handle over the last week. The NBA, of course, they come out of the All-Star break tonight. The All-Star game was barely basketball on Sunday, to put it politely. But of course, the college hoops, as we said, this is about the time where the public starts getting, all right, Super Bowl's done. Let's look the college hoops in the lead up to March Madness.
Well, I mean, you see Joe Lunardi's bracketology. He starts already. But for whatever it's worth, it means something, because people they want to, how could he say that? How could he do that? It just creates more interest in it. So, Joe, keep doing it, kid.
Oh, hey, look, every single morning, look at it, see who's playing, see who's of the bubble teams that are in action tonight. There are plenty. Even just tonight, Gonzaga in a spot that they're not used to on the bubble right now.
And what helps quite a bit also is, like, let's say like you're yesterday's team and you knock off Kentucky. Well, that's in there now. You got that. Like, you beat Kentucky. So if it comes down to like a yin or a yang, and says, hey, we got to give them to them because they did beat Kentucky.
LSU with a nice upset yesterday in Baton Rouge against the Kentucky Wildcats. Jimmy, I want to go to something you brought it up when you came in the studio, and it's pretty amazing that 44 years ago today, Team USA beat the Soviet Union, better known as the Miracle on Ice at the Lake Placid 1980 Winter Olympics. Of course, Team USA would go on to win gold. As a lot of people probably don't realize, even from the movie, that was not the game that clinched the gold. They had to come out, win another game.
Yeah. Who was it? Sweden or somebody?
I think it was Finland, right?
Finland.
Yeah,
I think you're right.
I'll have to double check that. It was one of the Scandinavian countries. I think it was Finland, though, that they had to come out and beat after beating the Soviet Union. But Jimmy it just shows how different sports are today in comparison to 44 years ago.
Right.
The game was on tape delay, but you were one of the few books, if maybe even the only book, that booked that game between the Soviets and the U.S. on the Miracle on Ice.
Well, remember what it was also. Like, I think there was only 2 or 3 casinos that had sports books in them.
Right.
And we were one of them at the Barbie Coast right on the corner back down there. And so, like, when we put it up, and it was just a great draw, even though it was people were jumping over the counters at me because they thought that we're the ones who took the game down on live television. I kept going, whoa, just relax. It's not us. And to have that thing right at that particular point in time, and one more, I'll interject this on how crazy it got. Now I'll go back to the 44 years ago. It's simply every now and then, just about every week, maybe every 2 weeks, there was always a team like you were waiting for them to come on. Then we're on the West Coast, and then they didn't come on. They put some junior college team. You ready for this one where Jimmy needed help? I mean, security. You ready? Nebraska and Oklahoma. Monster when they played each other. Just crazy. It was like a Super Bowl Sunday when those two played. So all morning we're writing tickets. We're doing this. Hey, man, Jimmy, what's going on? Whatever. Then here it comes, Adelson Tech is playing somebody from Pittsburgh, Robert Morris or something like that. They were screaming at me, and I said, it's not us. Then they came with that little banner on the thing, go to this station or whatever. But I'll never forget that. And now today we have maybe 50 games on Saturday just with college. So that was another learning period. And everybody from Las Vegas that had any power tried to go to these people and say, listen, you're missing a big opportunity to present your product out here. So Nebraska, Oklahoma. So that was another learning drive.
Well, I might have brought this up with Chris and Vinny and you during the college football season, just how, again, even in the early 2000s, it was not as even as easy access now, where every game in some fashion is at least streamed online. And in here, 50, 60, even 70 games on a regular college football Saturday.
You're right. And then it started with college basketball, too, but then you saw the growth of college basketball. Look at the schedule tonight. There must be 50 games that are played tonight. So everybody's jockeying for position. So, and you know what I like about the college, and I don't like about the pros, I'm sure we'll get there, too, is like the colleges played their ass off because they knew every game had a shot for them to go to the Sweet 16 or something, to get into the tournament, then see where it goes from here. Now, the NBA, we know there's, the Lakers have 4 games in front of the Warriors, whatever, but that's not exciting. And another bad thing about the NBA is, like, the reason it doesn't hold on even through the playoffs or whatever, you remember, some of the playoffs are in, like, June 15th. It's just like, people go on vacations, too. So it starts out okay, but then it fizzles out when we get to the hot days.
Well, it's interesting because you get, obviously, both the hockey and the basketball regular seasons end around tax day, around April 15th or so. And you're right. Those the latest NBA Finals is like June 22nd.
June 22nd this year.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, no, it June 21st, late. That's obviously not counting the pandemic year, which everything was obviously screwed up that year.
Now, remember, June 22nd, 6 weeks later, they have exhibition football games. They're going to camp.
Well, that's the thing, too. Like, if we're just talking out, all right, once March Madness is over, we pivot to baseball, we pivot to the NBA playoffs, we pivot to the Stanley Cup playoffs. Once the Stanley Cup playoffs and the NBA playoffs are done, it's like, kind of pivoting the football right then and there because it's so close to training camp. And then, of course, preseason games, which we know, Jimmy, professional bettors love betting.
And one of the things that we root for, being the bookmakers, is like, you at least got to have hopefully the Dodgers are playing every night because people come in. It's a more steady crowd that the Dodgers are playing in. So we want them. It's like with the Lakers too. It's obviously not to have a great year, but like it does boost up the handle only because it's it's that.
Well, that's the thing too. You mentioned in the past. Chris has mentioned it as well. Because looking at the Dodgers have a win total of 103.5
Yeah, right.
going into this year, which I'll be honest with you, Jimmy, I don't know, man, how many under bets you're going to take other than from a few sharps here and there on that. Because everyone in the public's just going to fly in and bet that thing over.
Every time that I hear like a total on that, and I obviously, there's some things I've done in this town that are like very good. There are some things I've done and say, what the hell are you doing, Jimmy? One of the best things I ever did, maybe one of the better things I've ever did here is like started the win totals with the NFL. Mm-hmm. And now every sport in the world has overs and unders on their teams, for the year. So
that was, of course, the year that you that you created it was the year the Cowboys won 1-15, correct?
Yeah, they won one. They were 1-15, and the guy bet the 38,000 on the. He constantly, every time he came to Las Vegas, he stopped in to see me. He called me his Australian bookmaker. He says, "You beat me, Jimmy, out of 38,000." Getting back before I forget, because I kind of I'm pretty sure that I had the Russians a 6-1 favorite.
6-1 favorite. Okay.
Yeah, I think that was it. Now there are some people I've seen or heard over the course of the years. Like I said, Jimmy, I seen where it was higher. Well, there weren't too many books in town, so I don't know how many could be higher. And one guy sent in something, said, Jimmy, I beat you for 24,000. I took the 6-1 or whatever the hell it was, and I wouldn't have taken 6,000 at 4-1 on a hockey team that had maybe 100 tickets on the whole damn game. But it's nice, and it fit in perfect for just everything else. It just. Here we go. We keep getting bigger and bigger and more interest in it, and this is where we're at. And one more thing. Mm-hmm. I seen it when it was starting. I seen it when it was here right now, and I will see it when it goes to the next level. There's always changes within the next 15 to 20 years because you have to keep up with the times, and we do.
You brought up the price on the Americans. No Buster Douglas, though. Not quite boy. Buster Douglas at 42-1.
Wow, that was great. The last guy, I always tell the story because people, oh, Jimmy, you're crazy. I said no. I said I'm not crazy, and it sounds like I am crazy but one thing I have never fudged on something that I've sent out on whatever. A guy came up to me. He was a big high roller. He came up with a casino host from the Mirage, and he came walking over to the counter. Knew that we had the game up. When he walked over, we had a minus 42 plus 37. I think that was it. And help me with my math. He's with the casino host. Hey, Jimmy, hey, man, what's going on? He said, I'm going to win a couple of dollars. I said, that's fine. So he was with the casino host, which I know that they just go to the cage, get a marker, and whatever. He says, give me Tyson to win 10,000. That means he put up 420,000 to win 10,000. Yeah. And then he made the bet. Then he disappeared. And then I saw him a couple of days later. He said, hey, man, I was just trying to win 10,000. That's all I was trying to do. Those are some of the things that I did that I'll live forever with, but they're kind of funny.
No, it's again, it's going to be hard-pressed to ever see a single event like that again.
No.
With, of course, the dominance of Tyson at that point. And that was in Tokyo, that fight, right?
Yeah. And now here's the other thing. It's a little, depending where you lived. HBO didn't broadcast it here in Las Vegas. Now, it doesn't mean they couldn't broadcast it somewhere else, but the Showtime and those places weren't even up and running then. Mm-hmm. But it was a big deal because I said after that, I started to get a lot of recognition, which was good for me and the whole everybody that had sports books because you talked about this, you seen where it go, see where it went, and of course, boxing was a monster from about a 15-year period in here in town. So, like I said, kid, all right, have a good day. We'll go from there.
Absolutely, Jimmy. The pleasure as always. We'll see you again tomorrow.
I'll be here.
Absolutely, Jimmy Vaccaro, everyone. Don't trip on the way out.
What happened?
Always love catching up with Jimmy. We don't even need a break. We'll fly right in. I'll put the headset on and bring in our guy Kai McKeon, a 3-man weave, with us right now. Kai, pleasure as always. Thanks for being with us today.
Hey Jeff, how's it going?
Good. It's always fun to talk to Jimmy. Stories are endless. Always learn something new that I didn't know had happened in the past here in this town. We'll see Jimmy again tomorrow on the show as well. All right, let's get into today real quick before we get your picks and go to some more macro stuff. I want to start with Florida Atlantic and SMU real quick because Florida Atlantic got absolutely clocked for about 31 minutes in Tampa and then almost pulled that thing off. just starting to come back a little too late against the Bulls. Now SMU comes wandering in here. Behind us, it's 6. There's some 6.5 out there. There's some 5.5 early on this game. This kind of feels like a pretty reasonable bounce back spot for Florida Atlantic. Yes, I know the market has loved them all year. They bet them all year. They have not been good as a favorite, especially in American play. But this feels like a pretty good, hey, get yourselves right before Memphis. You go to Memphis on Sunday, which the Tigers had their best game in probably 2 months yesterday against Charlotte.
Yeah, you would think it'd be a great opportunity for them to bounce back after that USF loss. But the problem is they just haven't been able to really emphatically put away American competition all season. And I've kind of called it playing with food. But at this point, maybe it is what it is. And they're 3-10, I think, against the spread in conference play. It's possible this team is just not that much better than their competition that we expected them to be in the preseason. I do lean their way. I do think they can find success against SMU, but man, their defense, that's been really what's letting them down this season. And SMU, the way they control the glass, from what we've seen, I think they can hang around. So it's a toss-up for me in this one, Jeff.
Yeah, what do you think of SMU's tournament prospects here? Obviously, Ken Pom has them as a top 40 team. I think they get hurt by the quality of the league around them. If Memphis and or Texas were better, like actual bubble teams as opposed to out of the mix for the time being, I think they would probably be in that last 4 out, last 4 in scenario. But they really do. The other side of the coin here is they really need this game tonight down in Boca. If they pull this upset and then win out, which would include a win in Tampa as well over the weekend, maybe they can sneak in the back door and find an at-large bid without having to win the American Conference tournament in Fort Worth.
Yeah, they really lack wins. They have 0 Q1 wins. So if they win against FAU, that's their first one, their Q1 win. Yeah, you mentioned they play at South Florida. I'm not sure if that's probably a Q1 as well if South Florida's in the top 75 in the net. And then they're at UAB and at least a Q2 win there. So if they win out, I'd agree with you. SMU's in pretty good shape for the tournament right now, though. If they lose to FAU, if they drop to USF, UAB, I don't really see them getting there just because of the lack of wins. They do have those 2 Q3 losses as well, and 2 total Q1 plus Q2 wins right now. Just doesn't stack up favorably compared to the rest of the bubble.
Going to Purdue tonight, of course, coming off of the head scratcher in Columbus, even though I thought it was a pretty brutal spot for them as it was. Didn't expect them to lose outright, but didn't think it was the best spot to lay points with them on the road with an interim coach and Holtman obviously getting fired earlier in the week. Now to get Rutgers. Rutgers is playing a lot better basketball of late. 15-point line here tonight, which is a big one. Purdue didn't cover against Minnesota last week when they were a bigger favorite than this. I kind of want to just stay away from this with a low total as well for Purdue games at 139. But the one thing that does concern me for Purdue, Kai, we saw it on Sunday. Slowing them down. They don't like that. And they turned it over on over 20% of their possessions against Ohio State. And if there's one team in the Big Ten that is capable of slowing you down and making you uncomfortable, it is the Scarlet Knights.
Yeah, for sure. That's their brand, right? Physicality. They have been playing faster on offense this season overall, but they're still that same tough, physical, attack the glass basketball team that we know and love from Steve Peichel, the Rutgers brand. Rutgers has been a lot better because Jeremiah Williams is back in the lineup. He's been back for 5 or 6 games, and that pretty much coincides with their little run that they've recently done in the Big Ten. They lost to Minnesota, but before that won like 5 straight games. They're a lot better team right now. 15 points is a lot. Rutgers has beaten Purdue the last 2 years, both I think once at Mackey and then once at Rutgers. They're not a pushover. They have a big guy, Cliff Amorie, who can kind of hang with Edey. I'm sure he'll get in foul trouble or fall just short of quite stopping Edey consistently, but at least he can hang around with him and give him some competition up front. So I would lean towards Rutgers with that big spread. Again, the pace will be quicker than normal for Rutgers games, but I just think they can hang around.
It just feels like a lot of points. Now, granted, Rutgers could have one of those offensive stink bombs and put up like 45 points. And you're in a whole lot of trouble with that. But hey, look, it's the big number there at Mackey, even though people have taken the number down from 16 on the overnights. All right, let's go to one of your first plays of the day because it's on chronological order on the rotation number, 755, 756. It's a pretty important game in the CAA there at UDel tonight. The Blue Hens hosting College of Charleston. Charleston's a 1.5 favorite on the road here against Delaware. Again, they're really compact at the top 6 in the CAA. All those teams separated by 2 games. Charleston does enter the week a game in front of everyone else, but this is a big spot for them on the road.
Yeah, I just think Charleston's really separated themselves recently compared to the rest of the Coastal Athletic.
Still the Colonial to us, Kai.
Yeah, I still get it. Let's just call it CAA. CAA no matter what. Yeah, they've been rolling. Charleston's been rolling. This is a team that you thought was going to win the league in the preseason. They're finally kind of living up to that billing. Won 5 or 6 in a row. Delaware's defense, it's ranked highly in the league, but it's held up by some shooting luck. Teams are shooting 28% from 3 against them. That's got to regress. Clearly, it's been 14 games or so, and it hasn't regressed all the way down. But I still think that's coming, especially against a Charleston team that they pretty much live and die by the 3. They have the highest temp rate from 3 in the conference, one of the highest in the country as well. That's kind of Pat Kelsey's brand, in addition to running up and down. And I just think Charleston has the size to compete with Delaware's offense, which goes through Jair Davis, a fantastic front court player. Charleston has size to throw at him, has a lot of depth up front. So the short spread, -1.5 here. I don't mind them playing on the road. I do like Charleston in this game.
I do want to ask you about another CAA game real quick, because these two teams played a week ago in Philadelphia, and now they play out on Long Island tonight. And Hofstra, who lost the first meeting to the Dragons, they blew a nice-sized halftime lead. Good comeback by Drexel in that game a week ago. This opened 2.5 in some spots, up to 4 now on the Pride at home against Drexel with a total of 136.
I think that's the right side. Drexel's a team that they don't win pretty, and I think they were kind of flying a bit too high for much of the year. Certainly stacked with their defense. Their defense is always tough. They play a really physical brand of basketball. Amari Williams is an absolute star in this league, but they really can stagnate offensively, and they've gotten some good shooting in conference play. I really don't think that's indicative of who they truly are. I mean, they're 5% better in conference play from 3 than they are on the entire season. That's an outlier. This team really can't shoot that well if you look up and down the roster. And you've kind of seen that recently with their little swoon, mini swoon, going from 7-0 to 10-4 now in the league. I think Hofstra's the right side. 4 is getting up there to where I probably wouldn't take it right now, but I do agree with the market movement.
It's a pretty big stretch for Hofstra in here. They have Drexel in this one. Then they get their home finale against Elon, even though Elon went on the road and somehow beat Wilmington over the weekend in one of the more perplexing results on Saturday in any level of college hoops. And then Hofstra gets to go to Wilmington and Charleston end their season. So a little bit brutal stretch for Hofstra to end the year in CAA play. Kai McKeon with us right now, 3-man weave, where you can find Kai's work. Going back to the Big Ten, Minnesota gets Ohio State tonight at the Barn. Gophers are 3 at home. That seems a little light, doesn't it? I know Ohio State's coming off the big win. Maybe they get a second game boost after the firing of Holtman, but with the way that Minnesota's played at home this year, this kind of feels a little light up there at Williams Arena.
Yeah, Big Ten in general has been awesome at home, right? I think they're one of the best conferences in America. Home teams are winning outright 70% of the time, second highest rate in the league. Excuse me, the country. Minnesota has not been profitable to fade them. I think they're the best ATS team in the country, something like 22-3 against the closing line. I mean, that's ridiculous. Yes, I wouldn't look to fade them here. Ohio State, obviously off that big win, heading on the road. Maybe there's a bit of a shot in the arm for them getting. I like Chris Holtman hand up, but maybe it did kind of invigorate them, galvanize them a bit with the coaching change, have a new chip on their shoulder sort of thing. However, I do lean towards Minnesota. They still have an outside shot at the NCAA tournament. It's not going to be easy, but obviously starts with wins. I lean their way here, short spread at the Barn.
Let's go to Gonzaga tonight. Right now, squarely on the bubble, according to most bracketologists. Lenardi had him as the last team in, which is a position that this program is not used to being in. Of course, they could still win the WCC here in Vegas. They probably still will. But tonight they're on the road against the not-so-good Portland team, 22.5 on the road tonight here for Gonzaga with a total of 163.5.
Yeah, this is simply just Gonzaga's in a different class than the rest of the league. They've been rolling WCC competition outside of San Francisco and St. Mary's 7 times they've beaten teams by 25 plus in league play. 3 times they've beaten teams by 30 plus, and they just beat this Portland team by 32 in the last game they played. It's just a big mismatch. Gonzaga's offense, number 1 in the league. Portland's allowing over 1.2 points per possession. That's terrible. They're a sieve defensively, and they can't score. Portland just really lacks talent depth this season. Love Shante Liggins, great coach for Portland. I just think they're out of their element here. And then to your point with the bubble, this is going to be a consideration for a lot of teams, especially ones that are smart and know how the networks and analytics. It pays to win by a lot of points. There is a bit of a cap on the net, but the more you win by, the higher your analytics go for predictive metrics, and it can also impact the net. Teams know that. They will be pushing to win by as much as possible over the next few days.
Gonzaga's last 3 in conference. They get Santa Clara at the Kennel for their final home game. Santa Clara, of course, upset Gonzaga back in January. Then they play the Dons in a game that's being played at the Chase Center, the Warriors' place, next Thursday night. Very bizarre that San Francisco wouldn't want that game on the Hill, to say the very least. And then they get St. Mary's in Moraga. Again, St. Mary's already went to the Kennel and beat Gonzaga this year. So a revenge spot twice for the Zags in their final 3 games of conference play. Going to the Pac-12, Kai, let's go to the big one. Of course, Wazoo has already defeated Arizona once this year. Now the return trip down to Tucson, a difficult spot here for the Cougars, to say the least. Arizona's 13 right now with a total of 150.5 in this one. Of course, the Cats, we know, projected number 1 seed as it came out on Saturday in the committee's top 16 reveal.
Yeah, it feels high, but I wouldn't want to fade Arizona right now. The way they can score, the way their explosiveness, it's been incredible to watch, and they can really beat anybody and go on long runs by double digits. It's really kind of child's play for them. Now, they have lost in conference play, obviously. That has coincided usually with the other team getting really, really hot from 3. In Washington State loss, that wasn't really the case. And Wazoo did a really good job defensively against Arizona, kind of forcing them to miss shots, but also they have the size to match up a little bit with Arizona. They're the second biggest team in the country, height-wise. Kyle Smith's obviously done a great job. He will be a Coach of the Year candidate. And they have Miles Rice, who's one of the best, quote-unquote, game breakers in the country this year, guy who can really take over games. But again, I don't really want to fade Arizona. I still think they're the best team in the country. Credit to Wazoo for all they've done. I think they fall short in this game. 13 seems high, but again, not going to fade the Cats.
Yeah, Arizona's not lost since that buzzer beater loss in Corvallis, where, quite frankly, if that game goes to overtime, they probably win by 15.
Yeah, right.
with the way that end of regulation went. But, it's, again, with Arizona, we were actually talking about Arizona in the studio before. I think talent-wise, they're the most talented team in the country. I don't think there's much of an argument on that. It's just we've seen with them this year, they at times lack focus. They at times go too much through Caleb Love. And my biggest takeaway when I was at the game they lost here in Vegas to Florida Atlantic, it looked like Tommy Lloyd did nothing down the stretch in that game, which has been a concern in the NCAA tournament, of course, last year against Princeton, that ridiculous loss. I know the Tigers made the Sweet 16, but come on now. And getting blasted by Houston in the round of 16. They're kind of in this. They're kind of in a bizarro Purdue boat for me at least how some people are viewing Purdue of, hey, you got to show me in the tournament before I fully trust you.
Yeah, you got to get that monkey off your back, right? And Tommy Lloyd, I think he will. I think he's a good coach, but I agree with you. It does kind of become the Caleb Love show in crunch time. And hey, part of that's on Tommy for letting that happen. And we've seen that experiment fail at North Carolina. We've seen it work. North Carolina's awesome run, 2 years ago in the tournament. Caleb Love is a huge part of that, but he is absolutely a feast or famine type of guy, and he's having a better year this year with Arizona. But I do wish that Tommy would kind of get away from him solely in crunch time. Maybe he's kind of turned a corner over the last couple of games. You mentioned they're on a run, and maybe they're just too talented for it to matter, and they can outscore anybody. But that is the one caveat to their team and potential NCAA tournament run.
Kai, I want to go back 2 days real quick because Creighton really put it on UConn. I know the Huskies got it to 10 with about 4 minutes to go, but that game was never really in doubt of who was the right side there with Creighton winning by 19 and covering all numbers with ease. I know some will make it out to be out. Maybe UConn's not as good. I think it's the other way on this. I just think Creighton a team that at times this year, again, I don't want to say lack of focus, but kind of with them, the no-show against Colorado State, Rams ended up being pretty darn good. The weird loss here in Vegas, the UNLV, that was the first game with Boone. They were with Caleb Boone. They're pretty talented. But this Creighton team seems pretty well set up where, again, they were one foul call that I'm still not certain was correct from being in the Final Four a year ago. I think this team is every bit as good as they were. And that on Tuesday was more to do with them being that good as opposed to, all right, UConn may not be as good. It was just one bad game in conference. We've seen this with high-end Big East teams going to Omaha since Creighton has joined the league.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Tough place to play. Obviously a rocky environment. And Creighton played a perfect game offensively. They're 14 for 28 from three. It's hard to beat anybody when you shoot like that. UConn, they didn't score poorly. They shot horrible from three. So 3-point splits not in their favor. That can happen in college basketball. I don't think UConn's overrated whatsoever. They are an awesome team. I am glad they got their butts kicked because I'm tired of hearing that UConn is head and shoulders over everybody else, that Houston's overrated, that Arizona's overrated, yada, yada, Purdue's overrated. The point is there's a lot of elite teams this year in college basketball. In my opinion, it's the most open the national title race has been in the last several years. And that's not because the competition's down. It's because the competition is up and there's a lot of elite teams. It's going to be an awesome tournament because of that. Creighton included. They are definitely a Final Four contender. My one worry about them, they don't really force the action defensively. They're not going to turn you over. They play more of a conservative shell, and they're not really a super physical team. So they can't really bother opponents offensively. That's my one concern with them. They can certainly score, though, and beat anybody if they're on fire like they were against UConn.
All right, one last one before we let you go, Kai. Which of the top three SEC teams do you trust the most when we get to the tournament?
Well, I'm going to say Tennessee, despite Rick Barnes, his history there. And the reason for that is their offense is revamped than what we've seen from historical Rick Barnes teams from Tennessee. They play faster. They have Dalton Connect. Those two things are a big change from the other Tennessee teams that really had trouble scoring a lot, right? Could get stagnated a lot. They still have that dominant defense. Now they have pace offensively, a guy that they can go to for a bucket whenever they want. I think that's the difference for Tennessee this year.
Yeah, it's really tough, at least for those three teams, because Alabama, even though they're number one in offense in KenPom, we saw it in the tournament last year. One bad game with shooting the three ball against a good team. See you later. And Auburn, I don't know. I mean, Auburn, this team kind of screams 2019 a little bit to me, but I don't fully trust them. And then you just mentioned it. It's still Rick Barnes. So there's a definite level of hesitation on anything tournament related for the Vols. I do agree with you for what it's worth, Guy. I think they are the most set up, but the problem again is Rick Barnes. So I don't know how much, when we see the bracket in a little under a month from now, I'm sure Tennessee will be a 3 seed or a 2 seed, and they'll be like, wow, I really want to pick that 6 or that 7 to beat them in the round of 32.
Exactly.
Even though I know I shouldn't. All right. He's Kai McKeon, of course, 3-man weave, where you can find his work. Him, Matt, Jim always do great stuff. One of them on this show every Thursday. On the tweets at Kai_3MW as well. Kai, pleasure as always, man. Thanks for hanging out this afternoon.
Hey, thanks, Jeff. Appreciate it.
Absolutely. Kai McKeon, everyone. All right, we're going to take a quick break. And when we come back, Frank Nicotero joins us next. And we might even have an action figure for him as well. You'll have to see it here on the show. Sports by the Book, South Point Studio.
From the South Point Studio, the perfect blend of sports.
But I think the Niners are going to wear them down. Detroit Pistons lost their 36 games.
Comedy.
See over-under on that relationship lasting. I'm going to put mayo in the coffee.
Yeah.
I am beautiful.
And a whole lot of Pittsburgh.
In Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh. Yeah. Pittsburgh.
Join Ryan McCormick.
That's at least 2 picks outside of our own in the first round next year. Oreo.
And host Frank Nicotero.
When I look at the clock, I go, ah!
Watch Punchlines live at noon every weekday.
Once you've satisfied your hunger, get ready for more of the hottest casino games in Vegas. Our 24-hour, 30-table non-smoking poker room proudly hosts all the most popular poker games with a variety of betting limits. Visit the poker room for a schedule of daily tournaments. Whether you're going to hold 'em or fold 'em, the best place for poker is at South Point Casino. You'll notice that our craps tables are usually the loudest in the casino. If you've never played, join one of our free craps lessons to find out what makes this game so exciting. Check with the craps dealer for schedules and give it a roll. Bingo is also an exciting way to spend your time. We offer 7 sessions of bingo every day. And each session includes a cash ball jackpot, 12 bingo games, a progressive double action game, and a $10,000 bonus coverall. Electronic units are available. If you haven't played bingo with us, give it a try today. Guests can also get in on the action at our one-of-a-kind race and sports books. 2 separate rooms designed to maximize your experience and comfort. Our sports book, with over 400 seats, puts you right in the middle of the action, 24 hours a day.
Welcome back in Sports by the Book, South Point Studio. I'm Jeff Parles, and now joining us, he is the host of Punchlines. He was also once the voice of Iron City Beer.
That's right.
He also has a championship as a player manager in Babe Ruth level baseball.
It was it's my last game. I hung him up, man. I went out a champ. I was like, I was gonna say Elway or Bettis, but I should be talking baseball. Who did win a championship on their last game in baseball and then hang him up?
I don't know. You could have gone. I know it's all football, but you could have gone Cower as well. If on the coaching end of things, his final game was the Steelers Super Bowl 40.
Yeah, I screwed up.
Okay.
All right. Anyway,
regardless, Frank Nicotero, everyone.
Yay!
So, a few things. First off, you had Denny Nagel on the program today.
Denny's an old friend of mine. Yeah, I met him his rookie year.
Denny is going to be in town.
It's coming in.
It's going to be great. I'm excited to meet him in person.
He's fantastic. I've known him 30 plus years. Met him the day he got called up to the Pirates. I was in a bar, Kangaroos, which I used to do commercials for in Pittsburgh.
You are allowed to say that on this show, by the way.
Oh, I'm allowed to say that. Yeah, Jerry, I'm allowed to. No. That's Punchlines only. By the way, the tally of money that I owe is $45. For Lent, I gave up saying the word Pittsburgh, my hometown, on Punchlines.
Is it $5 a time?
$5. So that's 9 times.
9 times?
Those 2 don't count. I don't have my glasses on. I'm not making eye contact with Jerry right now. Those don't count. I'm exempt on this show. So anyway, I met Denny. I was at the end of the bar, and he was looking over, and I could tell he was by himself. And he kind of looks over, and then he said, "Hey, how you doing, man?" I was like, "Hey, what's up?" He goes, "My name's Denny Nagel." I go, "You just got called up by the Pirates today?" He goes, "Yeah." I go, "I'm a comedian. I at the time, every Wednesday at this bar, I hosted sumo wrestling. It's where people would put on those inflatable sumo suits.
Excellent.
Remember? And
excellent, yeah.
And it was free to do, and it was dollar drafts from 9 to 11 or something like that.
It's pretty good.
It was unbelievable. And I made $200 cash. This is like $200 is a lot of money. Back then, even now, I take $200 cash. So, and I'd buy like people beers, so maybe like 10 would be on my tab. So I'm still walking out there with like $150 at the end of the night. So we became friends. He used to give me tickets to the game. So yeah, he's flying in March 12th to the 15th, Tuesday through Friday. He'll be in studio. Last time he was here, we had an interview with Tom Glavine, who's a Hall of Famer. He brought in Greg Vaughn and Marty Cordova, 2 guys that live locally. So this time we got Sean Casey definitely confirmed, who is also from my hometown.
I didn't realize he
went to a rival high school. He was a South Hills guy. I was a North Hills guy. So Sean Casey's on. The Mayor is his nickname. You know him from MLB. And then hopefully Chipper Jones and John Smoltz. So 2 more Hall of Famers. So, and then Jonathan Silverman from who's an old friend of his from Weekend at Bernie's and Weekend at Bernie's 2. So yeah, it's going to be fun. And we're going to talk spring training baseball. And then tomorrow on the show, very excited that Lanny Fratteri, who was the announcer for the Pirates for about 25 years when I really started listening to baseball, former play-by-play guy. He's going to be on the show with Vinny, Vinny Magliulo. But Lanny Fratteri, the reason we have him on tomorrow, it's the anniversary of Bobby Knight throwing the chair, the famous Bobby Knight chair.
Was he on the call that game?
Lanny was on the call.
I did not realize that.
Yeah, so we're going to have him telling us about that whole atmosphere that was like, and I'm sure we'll have a short clip of that posted tomorrow after the full show. But yeah, so full show tomorrow. It's been a great week.
So I'll ask you this, because when we had Jimmy on, and Jimmy reminded me of this coming into the show, and I didn't realize this, Today's the 44th anniversary of the Miracle on Ice.
Oh, wow. I wonder. Yeah, wow.
44 years, Frank.
Now, I remember watching that, but at the time, I don't even know if I had watched an NHL game. So that's 80 or 80. Yeah, 1980, of course. Yeah. So it was Lake Placid, New York. And I remember the Olympics were a big deal because that's back when we had 3 channels. So then it was 3 networks. That's all we had, maybe a UHF channel. And I remember watching the game, and everyone always obviously thinks it was the gold medal game, but it wasn't. It was the semifinal. Then they beat Finland.
Yep, very good. Yep.
But I remember watching it, and I vividly remember, I mean, I guess maybe people who remember seeing the Beatles on Ed Sullivan, I remember it vividly and you know, becoming just a massive sports fan around that time anyway. It was a big deal, and it was huge. I mean, Miracle on, you know, it was tremendous. And then you know, later on, the Penguins drafted Mario Lemieux, and of course, then I started paying attention in the NHL. But I never was a big hockey guy. I mean, I think that might have been the first hockey game I ever watched.
And as I was reminded, it was on tape delay.
Oh,
it was on tape delay.
Well, you know, when I was a kid.
I know the NBA Finals.
Yes.
Until Magic and Larry saved the league. I know.
But I remember there was a swap meet that we would go to on Sundays, and my sister and her friend wanted to go, and I said, I'll go. And it was during a Lakers-Celtics final.
Okay.
And I recorded it, but it was already tape delayed where I was anyway. Yeah, we were in Pittsburgh.
Keep saying it. It's okay.
So I don't know what year that finally happened, but I think maybe mid '80s they were still tape delaying the NBA.
Well, so this was put on Winning Time, which by the way, HBO renewed that somehow.
Can you believe that it got canceled?
It's still ridiculous. Yes, in the middle of the worst loss that the Lakers suffered.
Right, and they were going to do the whole championship season the next season, and they just had to put up a card at the end like, the Lakers went on to win.
So lame.
Yeah, they didn't give it a chance.
That was mentioned in Winning Time. And of course, Brent Musburger, who was in the studio for a long while, had mentioned it. Like that game, the Magic game with 42, 15, and 10, was a tape delay game, which is amazing to think about because it was the Sixers and Dr. J and like powerful brand in the NBA, and the Lakers, who were Los Angeles, and Magic, of course, the year before, just beating Larry Bird in the NCAA championship game in Salt Lake City. Still kind of crazy in retrospect.
It really is.
It was only 44 years ago.
I know. But it was on tape delay for a while. That is amazing. But the Olympics now, we get live, but of course you have to get up at like 2 a.m. sometimes.
Well, so this is a Summer Olympic year.
Yeah, in Paris, right?
In Paris.
Yeah.
The NBC has been promoting the heck out of it for months and months and months. You know, it's interesting because we'll talk with, you'll have Vinny tomorrow. I'll have Vinny tomorrow.
Yeah. I'm excited.
There'll be a double dose of Malagulo tomorrow.
That's nothing wrong with that.
Or Robert De Niro, as he was mentioned in the in the Washington Post article.
I loved that.
That was one of my friends read the article before. He lives on the East Coast. He lives in D.C.
Right.
And send me, great article on the South Point. And the first thing I sent them from the article when I read through it was that line.
It was great.
It was spectacular, more than anything. And by the way, if you've not checked out that article from the Washington Post, great stuff on Chris and company.
I think you get it on the Drudge Report for free, too, by the way. You don't have to worry about the paywall.
Well, you don't have to pay for the Post one either. Just send
put your email address.
Put your email. You get the one before it goes through the paywall as well. I totally forgot where I was going before that. I distracted myself.
Young Robert De Niro, Vinny.
No.
What the hell was he talking about?
I don't even know. Well, let's go to something else then, because I just totally lost my train of thought. You're a big baseball guy.
Yeah, very
we already
much.
talked about this with obviously Denny Nagel, former major league starter, Braves world champion with the Yankees at my expense when he was on the 2000 Yankees.
Oh yeah,
Subway Series. He started. I'm pretty sure he started Game 4.
He did. Is it 4? That sounds right.
Yeah,
he came over from the Reds in a trade.
Because I was at Game 3.
Okay,
I was at Game 3 as I was 7 years old.
Oh wow,
got ticket. My family friend of ours got us tickets in the upper tank at Shea.
Okay.
And it was Rick Reed for the Mets.
Former Pirate.
It was Rick Reed for the Mets.
It
was El Duque, Orlando Hernandez for the Yankees. And that game was the first postseason loss of Orlando Hernandez's career.
Yeah, wow.
Because he started out when came from Cuba and was awesome in those postseason games in 98,
El
99.
Duque, I forgot about him.
El Duque, of course, would later pitch for the Mets in 06, and his injury, where he got hurt warming up before a start, hurt his leg, basically doing like calisthenics in the outfield on the off day.
Wow.
In essence, hurt the Mets run in 06 because
I don't remember
they had
that.
Glavine before Glavine's disaster in the final game of 07.
Oh,
which
God.
we hope. I know you had Glavine last time with
Yeah, we didn't talk about that.
We won't mention that. But El Duque, the Mets were stuck with starting Steve Traxel, the human rain delay.
Yeah, Steve Traxel.
John Maine, who pitched very well in Game 6 against Cardinals, and Oliver Perez,
ex-Pirate.
He was actually traded from the Pirates that year.
Yeah,
that was one sizable trade the Mets made in 06.
He was a Padre, and we got him in the Jason. We got him and Jason Bay.
Yeah,
which Jason Bay was. Like
Jason Bay was an awesome Pirate. Yeah.
Unbelievable,
yeah.
and
horrible Met, by the way.
Yeah, horrible Met, horrible Red Sox, but he'd already made the money.
But 06, that trade was the Pirates traded because Ollie was the throw-in in that trade. The old veteran right-hander Roberto Hernandez.
Oh God.
Who I think was probably 39 or 40 at the time.
Well, that's what he would say, but his birth certificate might say 47.
You said it, I didn't.
It was
and Xavier Nady came the other
Nady,
way.
Yeah, the X-Man.
Yes, yeah, and the X-Man came from New York to Pittsburgh.
Yeah, he had a couple. He was a solid player.
Look at me. See, my brain's still working.
Xavier Nady. Wow.
But so we have in front of us, and you talked about it a little bit today.
Yeah, the future.
Win totals. Division odds up behind us. The Los Angeles Dodgers, who, by the way, won a spring training game today, about 9,000 to 1 against the
15 to 1, or so. It was 8-0 in the first.
Yeah,
when we had
the Dodgers may win a lot of games this year. It was 14-1 final, by the way.
14-1,
and they only scored runs in 2 innings, the first and the sixth.
Well, they want to wrap it up by then. They just want to get out of there.
Kind of stunned they actually played the whole night.
Yeah, right.
But the Dodgers are $6 favorites to win the NL West.
And their
minus 600.
And their win total.
Their win total is 103.5. For what it's worth on my end, I don't think 103.5 is enough.
I don't think so either.
I think because the one thing that this Dodger, they won 106 last year, and they weren't even that good.
And they didn't have Ohtani.
They weren't even that good on paper. Now, granted, they caught up to them in the playoffs, where the Diamondbacks smoked them, which is basically the only thing I got right in last year's postseason. I lost
on every game on the Dodgers because they lost the first game. Like, wow, they won't lose 2 in a row. That
was the only thing I bet in the division series last year, and I got it.
Well done.
Because all my Orioles futures went up in flames in their sweep to the.
They weren't ready. They weren't ready.
Well, I think the Orioles are going to be the second best team in the American League.
I think they're going to be so. I think this year they needed that playoff experience to then know.
So the interesting thing for me is I don't think 103.5 is enough.
No,
personally.
I agree.
I know it's an asinine number to go over, but I think the Dodgers are winning 108, 107.
I do too.
The other interesting ones, just eyeballing this, you brought up the Pirates earlier. I thought 75 was right.
Yeah.
I thought they should have been somewhere in 74 to 76.
Still under 500, but
75 improving. You brought up the Reds with Denny earlier. I'm not as high on them as everyone else seems to
was
be.
it 82.5?
82.5. Now, they're in a horrible – that division's terrible. You know that.
Yeah, oh, yeah.
The Brewers, I think, will be worse.
They got traded Corbin Burns. I mean –
yeah, they'll be worse. Really, all they have left is Yelich and William Contreras.
And they signed Sanchez to play first base, Gary Sanchez, to catch and play first.
Is that – I didn't even realize
the Pirates were hot.
Gary.
They were hot after him, and then the Brewers got him.
Can anyone be hot after Gary Sanchez in 2024?
Apparently, the Pirates were. It was really sad.
The Cardinals, by the way, the Cardinals were awful last year. They have the highest win total
in the
NL Central at 85. Cubs at 83.5. This is also your division as well.
Yeah.
The Pirates there. I like the Cubs personally. Which
they
right
didn't do a lot. The Cubs
are 2-1 to win the division. I think it's just a process of elimination where I don't think the Brewers are any good. The Pirates aren't ready. I think everyone's a year early on Cincinnati here. I think next year's the year.
Mm-hmm.
And the Cardinals didn't really get much better after last year's calamity.
It's the first year the Pirates finished ahead in the Cardinals since like 92. That's true.
Pretty impressive.
That's ridiculous.
And they were in the NL East at that point. That wasn't even the NL Central.
That's ridiculous. That's the last glory. That's the Sid Bream year. I prefer not to talk about that.
But the other just again, these are early baseball thoughts.
Yeah,
Frank. Very early. I really like the Yankees. My concern with the Yankees is just their starting pitching behind Garrett Cole.
Sure.
That combo of Soto and Judge is going. Soto could hit 40 homers easily in that stadium.
With that porch, yeah.
I'm curious to see what their lineup construction is of who's protecting who.
Yeah.
Will Soto bat in front of Judge or vice versa?
Yeah, I wonder.
I think I'd have Judge bat ahead of Soto, but there is a legitimate argument to be made that Soto
gets on base so much.
Well, that's
with walks,
that's the argument.
Yeah.
Soto could bat second and bat Judge third.
Then Stanton.
Well, who knows what Giancarlo is at this point. But they're the team where you look at the American League, everyone in the Central stinks to me. The Twins didn't get any better because they don't have any money because of the Bally's nonsense.
Right.
The Tigers, everyone loved them last year and they were horrible.
White Sox, another team.
The White Sox, this is how bad it's gotten for the White Sox. The White Sox are 50-1 to win the American League Central.
Wow.
And that division is bad also. Yeah. And they are 50-1. For just comparison's sake, the Pirates are 17-1, and that's the long shot in the NL Central.
Oh.
That's how bad it is for the White Sox right now, that they're 50-1. I'm almost at a point where I would take a shot on Kansas City. They at least have done some stuff in the offseason to improve the team. Now, they were dreadful last year.
They're a couple years away probably, but you never know. Why not take a flyer? Bobby Witt Jr. is a superstar.
You win 83 games? That might be enough in that AL Central this year. That's how bad that division is.
Yeah, it's gonna be fun. Look, spring's eternal. I mean, I just hope spring's eternal. I obviously you start looking on paper, you go, wow, Pirates maybe aren't that bad, and you look at the other teams, and it's gonna be fun. I'm looking forward to being here for baseball and seeing the minor league games, and then we got the games in Korea in like a month, less than a month.
Yes,
Dodgers.
1 month from yesterday, technically.
And Glasnow and Yamamoto.
Yamamoto would just be you'll enjoy this one. If Yamamoto starts opening day for the Dodgers, he will just be the third pitcher since 1942 to start on opening day as his major league debut.
Oh, wow.
How about that? I would have taken the over on that.
Wow. Who are the other ones?
I have to look it up.
Damn, that's a good stat.
I have to look it up real quick.
I'm trying to think if like Nomo, I mean, and not to just go with that.
It wasn't Nomo.
Foreign players. Oh my God, that's a great stat. Give me a clue and I'll see if I can get.
Well, I have to find it again.
I'm putting my glasses on to think. I don't know what that means.
Yeah, I can't find the tweet, but it did.
Let me know if you find out who that is. That's amazing.
I'll find it. Oh, there we go.
Okay.
All right, so I was wrong. He would be the fourth.
Okay, but still.
He would be the fourth since 1925.
Rookie to start in
fourth since 1925. So I had it a little bit wrong. He'd be the second since 1940, but he'd be the fourth since 1925.
To start a rookie.
Yep.
To start opening.
Make his major league debut as the opening day starter. One of them is a Hall of Famer. The other two you're not getting. And that was the one in 1925.
Okay, yeah, I won't get that. Who's that? Pud Galvin or something. You know, who is that?
That was Lefty Grove.
Lefty Grove. Wow, okay, that's a Hall of Famer.
Lefty Grove is a Hall of Famer. And then the other two were Jim Bagby in 1938.
Okay. Is there one in reasonable time?
No.
No. Oh,
no.
Well, then there you go.
No. The other one is Al Gerhager in 1943.
Jeez. So basically it never happened. So yeah. We'll see.
It would be the first one since World War II. Basically.
Yeah, right. Wow. That's a great
pretty wild, isn't it?
Yeah, it really is. I would have thought something.
That was Sarah Langs on Twitter, one of the best baseball follows.
Who is that?
Sarah Langs.
Okay.
Works for MLB now.
Oops. Whoa.
Oh, don't break Denny.
Over. Sorry, Denny.
Don't do that. Basketball, the NBA's back tonight.
Yeah.
Are you doing your California parlay?
I guess I have to put that in. We were talking about it just because it's National California Day. You know, that silly National
holidays.
I'm not. They make it up. I just follow. I know. But there's the Clippers are at the Thunder. We were thinking of taking the three favorites. Take the Warriors, the Thunder, who are hosting the Clippers. Then the last game is the Spurs at Sacramento.
You do know that Oklahoma City is in Oklahoma, right?
Yes, I do. Well, the Clippers are playing them. So we're saying we're not going to bet the California teams. We'll bet the games with California teams participating. And Ryan McCormick figured out if you bet the money lines, pays $2.22, and today's date is 2/22.
See, time is a flat circle, my friends.
And did we land on the moon today?
Apparently we did, actually.
I know. I got to check that out when I get home.
I didn't have you as a big astronomy guy.
You know, my sister was. My sister was huge into astronomy. I saw a movie called Capricorn 1 when I was a kid.
Okay.
James Brolin, O.J. Simpson, and it was about a fake moon landing, and I was like, this movie blew my mind. So my sister probably got me into it more, but yeah, I'm kind of into it.
That's pretty good. The Capricorn
one. I saw it in a drive-in. Do you even know what drive? Have you ever been to a drive-in? Anybody back there? Okay, Sean has. Jerry has. Caden, never. Okay, too young. Drive-in theaters are great.
By the way, you can watch Capricorn 1 today on Peacock.
Is it on Peacock?
Yeah.
Oh my God! I'm telling you what. Well, I was going to watch Oppenheimer, but screw it. I'm going to watch that because I haven't seen Oppenheimer yet. Has anyone? Oppenheimer.
How have you not seen Oppenheimer? What's going on?
I was sick. And then, no, I haven't seen it. I have not seen it. Caden is in shock that I haven't seen it.
By the way, Capricorn 1 had a really good cast.
James Brolin, O.J. Simpson,
Elliot Gould.
Yeah.
Sam Waterston. Like, there's a lot of good people.
Elliot Gould was one of the biggest box office stars of the 70s. Yeah, he was. I'm telling you, it's a good movie. That's your assignment. Watch Capricorn 1, anyone who's never heard of it. But yeah, I haven't seen Oppenheimer yet. Everyone's shocked by that. The guy's shocked. The guy who just saw Weekend at Bernie's is now shocked that I haven't seen Oppenheimer. Who it turns out lived right down the street from me for 4 years, by the way, and we didn't know it. In California, on California Day, we're bringing this up.
Oh, hey, that's
4339 background. No, we lived like right by the Aroma Cafe at Moore Park and Tonga in Studio City. The other day I thought they were pulling my leg. He goes, I used to live at Moore Park and Tonga. I'm like, did I talk about it on the show? We lived right around the corner from me. But we didn't know each other. So I probably yelled at him for skateboarding or biking.
You probably need to get off my lawn.
Yeah, exactly.
Frank Nicotero. So you already discussed who's on the show tomorrow.
Yeah.
Next week as well, leading into the month of March.
Yeah.
The important thing comes on Friday, though. Next Friday.
Is that our 100th or 100th?
That will be 101.
101. I lost a bet to Ryan McCormick. We bet on it was the the Golden Knights and the Penguins when they were here. Penguins were up 2-0 in the third. I started talking trash. Then they lost 3-2.
What did you learn from that?
I learned not to talk trash till the horn sounds. Yeah, and so I have to come dressed. Ryan thought of this as a Dalmatian to celebrate 101 Dalmatians. So I will be coming in as a Dalmatian. Is that next Friday already?
Mm-hmm.
I got to get on Amazon and order that. And is that really? What's the date on that? Is that March?
March 1.
March 1st. That's right, because leap year will be our 100th episode, February 29th.
That's perfect. That's perfect. A date that only exists every 4 years.
Exactly. As our 100th
has a
episode.
Monumental episode.
That's pretty cool.
That's pretty good.
Oh, that's my alarm going off. Sorry. Do you know what that song is? What movie that's from?
Is it Jurassic Park?
No, it sounds like it.
It sounds like Jurassic Park.
No, it's Philadelphia Morning. It's called Philadelphia Morning.
So it's Rocky then.
It's Rocky. Very good. You'll know as soon as here. This is when he got up and struggled. Right. It's when he woke up to struggle and then he runs.
But at first, that doesn't really sound like Jurassic Park, doesn't it?
But it's Bill Conti, and then when it kicks in, anyway, that's from.
This is a great radio right now, by the way.
This is great. There it is. Anyway, that's my alarm. It gently wakes me up in the morning. I wake up like Rocky, and then I eat some raw eggs, and then I go out and I punch meat.
So by the way, one quick thing on the spacecraft that landed on the moon. It is the first time that a U.S. spacecraft has successfully landed on the moon since Apollo 17, which was 51 years ago.
It's incredible. It's pretty cool. I can't wait to go home and check it out. They had two other countries had failed ones. I think India and Japan or something recently.
You would know better than me.
So anyway, it's going to be pretty cool. So I'm going to see if they find anything up there.
The show's at noon.
Noon tomorrow.
Monday through Friday. Frank Nicotero, Ryan McCormick. Shenanigans abound, regardless.
Right. Anniversary of Bobby Knight chair throw, and we'll have Lanny Fratteri and Vinny from the Sportsbook.
Be a lot of fun. Vinny will be with me tomorrow as well.
Yeah, that's great.
Chris Andrews on a well-earned vacation the next few days.
He is in Big Sky Country.
Yes, he is. Very much so in Big Sky Country. With a stop in Cedar City, Utah on the way, by the way.
What is there?
Well, there's a pizza place, apparently, and the name...
Why have I heard him talk about this?
Well, Cedar City where Ryan McCormick went to college, I'm pretty sure?
He went to Southern Utah. Is that where that is?
I'm not certain. I'll have to double check that. But
Ryan's not. Okay, Caden's saying yes.
Yes, okay. So there's apparently a pizza place in Cedar City, Utah that Chris swears by. It's one of the best pizzas he ever had.
He has to bring some
And he said it as an approval of a bookmaker who's from New York. I don't know if it's Vinny or not.
I don't know.
We might have to find it out tomorrow.
All right.
He's Frank Nicotero. I'm Jeff Parles. Big thanks, as always, to you out there watching. Big thanks to Kai McKeon and Jimmy Vaccaro for hopping on today. We will see you again tomorrow, 3 o'clock Pacific time, right here on Sports by the Book.